we've been invited to follow up with some of the most renowned entrepreneurs and spiritual leaders. There is nothing more rewarding when it comes to success and self-development. But far too often, people fall short of greatness.
Drug and alcohol abuse.
Falling victim to bad habits.
They get rejected all the time, a lot of failure, and then some success, more failure.
This is not only about discovering the beliefs we have in ourselves, but unlocking the potential that we all carry within us. This is The Awakening. During the 19th century, Ouija boards were used by the upper classes as a source of entertainment. This was one of the first recorded acts of mediumship. Mediumship is the practice of purportedly mediating communications between spirits of the dead and living human beings. It's claimed that they can listen to and relay messages from spirits, or allow them to control their bodies and speak through them by using automatic writings or drawings. In the late 19th and early 20th century, spiritualism was all the rage. People were looking for answers and comfort after the Civil War, so they turned to mediums for spiritual guidance. The religious movement had such a pull that even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a believer. But despite its popularity, many debunkers argued that it had little legitimacy.
Think about psychic phenomena, they think it like in terms of Hollywood.
He wows people with his psychic abilities.
Do you talk to dead people? Yes. I actually thought it was normal. I thought everyone sensed and felt the same things that I did.
So whether you believe in it or not, there is no questioning the enormous religious following and its growth in popularity in recent years.
Today's show is about your sixth sense.
So that's why today we'll be meeting with an award-winning author and medium whose mission is to help others live their best life.
Hi, my name is Janie J. I'm an author, speaker, world traveler, nationally ranked athlete, encourager of women, and I'm also a medium. What I'm going to talk about today is a book that I downloaded from Universal Intelligence, and it is an entire book on why we are here and what we are to learn. And I'm also going to talk about how this event occurred and what led it to actually happen, and how I've finally embraced it as actually being the truth. For those of you who might be wondering just what a medium is, well, join the club, because I didn't know what it was either until I Googled it. So the best way I can explain it is someone that is here in the earthly life that is able to connect to beings or spirits that are in a different realm, that are in the afterlife. And the way that I think it works, and I knew that it worked for a while, but I didn't know why until I listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza. He explains it, how what happens is by accessing different brain waves, we get to a different level of consciousness, and then we're able to connect better.
Because you can teach people through practice how to change their brainwaves, slow them down. And when they do that properly, they do enter the operating system where they can begin to make some really important changes.
In my own life, in layman's term, I would call it being a sense of relaxed and letting go. And that's something I had to work really hard on, because I had a really stressful life before. But by really working on it and learning to be quiet and let my mind go free, I was able to get to that right brainwave that I could connect. And it's you can think of it also as a frequency. Like if you're trying to tune in your radio in the old days, like AM or FM radio, and if you're not on the right frequency, you don't get the station. It's like that. You have to be on the right frequency. Some people actually call it on the right vibration. So this is how I think it works. So you become in a relaxed state, and you do that by breathing. You do it by different people do it different ways. It could be yoga, it could be running, it could be meditating, it could be praying. There's all sorts of ways, but you become super relaxed, and then you're able to be more of a channel. And I feel like a medium is a channel between this world and that world. I think of it like an opening. Like you can't get through unless there's an opening, unless there's a path. So if the more open you are to receiving the information, and you don't judge it, you just take it for what it is, and you don't filter it or anything. You have to be very clear about letting it just flow. And I think that what I'm connecting to when I do that is a universal consciousness, which is all that has ever happened, all that ever will happen, and everything that's happening now. So one day when I was in my quiet time, my meditation time, and I could hear my intuition, which I call my spirit guides, and they told me that I needed to write a book. They actually said it's going to have 3 discourses, and they told me what to call the book, and they said, get ready, because we're going to start telling you this book. Make sure you have pens and paper. So what happened is they started waking me up in the middle of the night, and I would get up and transcribe what I would be hearing. And I could say it's like transcribing, but you're not actually hearing it. It's more like you're feeling it. And so I would write down what they said as fast as I could. And you got to pay attention. You can't worry about spelling or anything. Just get it down, or you're not going to be able to keep up. And I wasn't very good at it at first because I was so sleepy. And so I'd do what I could, and then I'd go back to bed. I'd get up in the morning, and then I'd read it, and I'd go, oh, this makes sense. I was kind of surprised. But each chapter in the book is called a lesson, and each lesson tells you about something that we're supposed to learn while we're here on Earth. So you might ask, why would someone need to read the book, The New I Am Document? Like, what would there be to learn? Well, first of all, you'll learn how to be a better person, and you'll be opening your eyes up to the possibility that there is one universal consciousness and that you are part of it, and you'll start to see life in a different way. And hopefully you will learn and grow, because God's plan, or whoever your higher power is, because all religions lead to the same place. It's not exclusive. So our higher power wants everyone to help lift everyone else up so that we will all ascend, which means we will all become enlightened. We'll all be awakened. We'll all learn how to treat each other with more kindness and love, and treat the environment and our world with more love.
We're here to serve. We recognize that we're here to serve the greater good. And that's the great awakening that's happening in humanity today. We're awakening the nightmare of insufficiency. We're here for each other. We're here for our minds. We're here to bring our contribution.
And in the I Am document, the new I Am document, the main thing to learn from the book is that we are one, we are all connected, we are all actually one great consciousness. So we're not living independently. We are not it's not just our life and our little world around us. What it is instead is that we are little tiny cogs in this great big consciousness, and we all have our own part. We all have our own job. We all have our own mission. We all have our own thing we're supposed to contribute for everyone. And when you read the book, The New I Am Document, you start to understand, if you didn't already, about how we are so intricately interconnected with everything. We're connected to other people. We're connected to other things like the environment, animals, the ground, the sky. We're even connected to the universe.
It is not only about us. We are not in this little test tube. It's about the rest of the universe. It's about helping people globally to be their best, to feel their best, so that they can create their dreams. And hopefully within those dreams, there's something that they can contribute to help mankind.
We are, in fact, connected to all that is, everything that exists now, in the future, and in the past. It's all very, very interesting, and you kind of have to learn it in steps, baby steps, because otherwise it's going to blow your mind. It's just too much. But even if you can't accept the big picture right away, it's still worth reading the book so you can start learning how to be a better person and start understanding how your actions affect other people. I can give you an example of person to person, how we affect each other. So if you've ever been around someone, let's say you go to a meeting or it's someone in your family and you're talking with them, and they're agitated and they're upset about something because something or other happened to them, and they relate that story to you. And then when you leave, like, you're starting to feel like kind of upset and worrisome, and you're like, what happened? Like, I was all in a good mood when I met her, and now I'm like feeling terrible. Well, you realize that what happened is they had something they were upset about, some, I would call it negative energy, and they just passed it to you like a beach ball. And now it's stuck on you. And then you're feeling all unsettled and kind of in a crummy mood. And so then you go on to the next person that you're interacting with, and you kind of lay all this out on them. And they're like, whoa, like, where did that come from? And then you feel all good because you just got rid of all that. But then that next person has got all that angst with them. So even though you can't see that, we've all certainly felt it. And what that is I believe it's negative energy being passed from person to person. So once you can recognize it, that's what's happening, you can do one of two things. You can either avoid the person that's got the negative energy, or you can try to deflect it, not let it absorb into you. So that, they might say something negative, but I call it putting Teflon up, like just like bounce it off, like so it doesn't affect you and you don't absorb it into your being, and then you can go on your way. Of course, there's a third thing you could do, and that's to try to work with the person and try to help them see the positive of whatever it is they're complaining about. But when you're first becoming aware of this thing that happens, you're not probably equipped to be able to take any preventative action as far as trying to change the other person's mind. But you can try that later, because one of the things that we are here to do is to teach other people. And so they'll either learn by us gently explaining it to them, or most likely they'll learn by example when we show them. Like if we just say, oh, well, that's too bad that happened, but this is the good side of it, or whatever. And if they hear that enough times, it's not going to happen after the first or second time, but if you tell them enough times, they'll finally start recognizing it themselves, even if it's subconsciously. That reminds me, one of the other things that I've learned is that our subconscious mind is responsible for most of our conscious mind. And what happens is our subconscious mind helps dictate our conscious thoughts, which dictate our actions, and that ends up being our reality. And so that's why it's so very important to work on our subconscious. Like a lot of people have issues where they think they're not worthy, they're not valuable, they're not important, and they tell themselves those negative things, and it just festers in their brain, and they actually create that kind of life.
A lot of people are not even aware of they have a conscious mind. There's a consciousness that they can tap into. And we need to work with the subconscious mind and change our paradigm to then manifest your goals and your vision in the world.
Our conscious mind sees that what we want. It sees the goal. It wants the goal. But then underneath all of that, we have belief systems or thoughts that we're resisting. Okay, and oftentimes those are the things that will trip us up in creating what we want.
So you have to be really, really careful about how you talk to yourself and be positive and uplifting so that you can have a happier life, you can live a happier life, you can start manifesting the things that you actually want in life instead of the things you don't want. When I was first told about to transcribe the new I Am document, I did it, and then I thought, well, first of all, what does I Am mean? And then second of all, if this is the new I Am document, then is there a first I Am document? And I Googled it, and I found out indeed there was. And I believe it was in the 1930s, someone else transcribed such a book. So that kind of thing was really new to me, and so I started researching it to see if other people had actually done this, because I wasn't aware of that. And then I heard about Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God, and then I heard about A Course in Miracles. And I haven't studied the Course in Miracles, and I haven't studied the original I Am document. But I have, I did read a book about how the Course in Miracles was, how it started. And it was very much the same for me. Like, I started hearing the voices and telling me these things, and then I was hesitant about writing them down. I mean, I did good to write them down, but I was like afraid to tell anybody I could do this, because I didn't want them to think I was crazy, and I didn't want, my family to have me committed or something, because they're not spiritually minded. I'm trying to open them up to that, but they're not. That's not how I was brought up. That was not anything that was like in the realm of possibilities. So you should really listen to the stories, listen to the lessons, and absorb them into your soul, and then teach them to others. Live by example. And honestly, if you don't believe that it was transcribed, that I got the messages this way, it doesn't even matter. The information is good. The information is valid. Information is something, it's indisputable that this is how we should live. So I encourage everyone to read it. And I think what'll happen is, once you read it, you become more aware, you become more open, then you can start realizing, well, maybe that is true. Because, when I first started out, this stuff seemed pretty way out to me. And I didn't really believe it or think it was possible. But I just kept listening, because it was like, I can't be making this up. Like, maybe there's something to it. And just if you just have that door open, there's just a crack open where you think there might be a possibility, eventually you can get that door open all the way. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is a way better way to live, like to live in peace and joy and happiness, and not let your outer world, any negative things happening, affect you as a person, and know that you can get through anything. Or if there's something that's unpleasant, that is just a lesson. When you learn those sorts of things, you can cope with life so much better. It's much more of a blessing. So the reason I'm explaining all this about the new I Am document is I really want to get the word out, because that is my life's mission. So I invite you to keep an open mind and think about the many things you might be able to learn if you read the book. It's coming out hopefully next Easter of 2021. And if you'd like to find out more, you should go to my website and sign up to be notified of the progress. And that website is www.thenewIammovement.com. I think this book will be very helpful for those who want to strengthen their religious views, or want to discover why we are here. But it is really important you have an open mind. You will definitely learn something. And I do have other books in the works. One of them is called The Soul Connector. And in that book, I connect to people that have passed away. And I relate the conversations and the lessons we are to learn from that, because we can learn so much by connecting to people on the other side that have left the earth. They tend to have a whole new perspective of what life is like, and it's very, very interesting and informative. And even if someone doesn't believe that I'm really connecting to them, they will still learn lessons, and it still be entertaining and informative. So you can go to my website, www.thenewIammovement.com, and sign up to be notified of updates. I'd like to thank you for listening today and keeping an open mind and an open heart. And I hope my information has been helpful. And again, I'm Janie J.